right, you all brought your yoga mat, right? Go ahead and roll out your yoga mat. Come into downward facing dog, please. What? Wait a minute, you didn't bring the yoga mats? Michaela, what happened? Sorry, my name's Suzie Newcome. I'm the founder and co-owner of Namaspa Yoga. We're celebrating our 10-year anniversary in Bend, and we've been in Redmond for 2 years as well. So I'm here to talk with you about how yoga can relieve pain. And well, actually, first of all, I have no disclosures other than I do some work for the Baptiste Yoga Institute. We're a Baptiste affiliate studio, and I do travel around the country teaching Baptiste yoga as well. But I came into yoga really for the same reason that we're here today. I was in the corporate world for many years, and it was actually pain that got me into yoga to begin with. Oh, where's the thingy? There we go. I grew up here in Bend. I had a horseback riding incident when I was 16 years of age, which resulted in back pain that would reoccur every 6 months to a year to 2 years. And I was just in this cycle all the way through my teens, my 20s, even into my early 30s, that I would end up in the emergency room, hardly able to walk. They would give me pain relievers and muscle relaxants. I'd lie down for 3 days, it would go away, and then it would crop back again. And it didn't seem like anything that I did would stop that cycle until I went and trained with Baron Baptiste for a week. In the middle of the week, I was actually in a really, going into the training in a really painful episode with my low back. I could barely do the practice or stay on my mat. But by the middle of the week, I felt my muscles actually release. And within 6 months after that of gentle daily practice, I was completely pain-free. And I've been out of that cycle for now over a decade. What actually brought me back to Bend was my mother, who also was having back pain. Unfortunately, years before I got into yoga, she opted for the surgical route. She had 2 fusions and another back surgery, and basically the whole thing left her crippled, taking loads of daily medication. She was on fentanyl patch. We even had a morphine pump put into her body toward the end. She passed away at the age of 65. And part of my mandate in starting Namaspa was to help spread the word and practice of yoga, something that had worked for me, and that I always wondered if that would have helped extend my mother's life. I've definitely seen hundreds of cases over the last decade of people who have had their pain relieved of all sorts of pain and gotten their lives back. Just a couple days ago, I was speaking with one of our teachers, and I didn't even know this about her because she had been embarrassed about it. When she started with us, she was taking 90 Norco a month and had a morphine patch. She's in her early 30s. That was for back pain, and that's what she was doing for months and months going up to starting yoga. She was able to get off of her pain medication through yoga, and now she's been more than a year pain-free. So those are a couple of anecdotal things. I've listed some research. There's a lot of research out there about yoga relieving pain. Luckily, more and more is coming. The first one I'll refer to, which was published from the Boston Medical Center just this last June. And the interesting thing about this research is that they had a big group. It was 320 people, racially diverse, and from mainly low-income folks. They divided them into 3 sections. One group did physical therapy, one did yoga, and one did nothing. They read articles. After only 3 months, the physical therapy group and the yoga group reduced their use of back pain medication, opioid medication, by nearly a third. And those results continued to improve over the year that the study was conducted. And there was no improvement on the control group. So there's lots of research out there. I've listed some of them. They'll be in the documents. But overall, they show that yoga does help to relieve pain, and it's correlated with the more classes attended. So how does this happen? And this kind of goes to what yoga is. So yoga helps to relieve chronic pain through 3 main things. The first is deep breathing. So if you were to ask me just what is yoga, I would say breathing with movement. And what we do as yoga practitioners is to use the full capacity of the lungs versus very shallow breathing is what we typically do. And this helps increase oxygenation and initiate the parasympathetic response, which improves rest and organ function. Yoga is also about mindfulness. So it's about training your mind to be in the present moment. And that's really great if you're trying to heal injuries. You feel in your body and have time to notice what's happening and to respond appropriately. And yoga is also promoting integrated movement. There was a reference earlier about posture. It's really about integrating the movement, also balancing effort and ease so that we build strength in weak areas and gain flexibility in the tight areas, which increases joint stability and decreases wear and tear in joints and ligaments. So just some more about the movement, the integrated movement I mentioned of yoga. This really provides a space for the body to heal itself, a space for circulation. We've already heard, and Allison mentioned several others, that the body needs movement to heal, and that staying static is the worst thing for someone to do if they're in pain. Yoga is also comprehensive, so it addresses all the bones and muscles and body systems in an integrated way, rather than over-strengthening common movement patterns. I say that to a lot of people in Bend who are active, but they're doing hiking, biking, skiing. It's all the same patterns, which are tightening quadriceps, hamstrings, hip flexors. The movements are also slow and low impact and don't use momentum. In Baptiste Yoga, we train our students with injuries to practice what we call behind the pain, so that they're feeling and practicing so that they don't feel the pain of their injury. They don't go that far. They practice behind that pain, and this promotes healing versus aggravation. So different from, you might have heard, practicing at your edge. If you're healthy, come to your edge. That's the place where it's challenging. But if you have an injury, we say no, stay behind the pain of the injury. Yoga also addresses some of the underlying causes of pain. So integrative movement, as I mentioned, improves body posture. So the body is really created to diffuse the gravitational strain on the system if we're standing upright. But of course, the more that we hunch over, the more gravity pulls and creates a strain on the muscles and the whole system. Yoga also helps people release the trapped emotional patterns that cause ischemia or lack of oxygen. And some of this has also been mentioned, that research shows a stronger link between back pain and emotional stress than vertebral disc disease. It's actually, a lot of research shows almost no correlation between vertebral disc disease and back pain. Almost all people who don't have any back pain at all have vertebral disc disease. And so, but what people do that have pain is often in high emotional stress. So yoga provides a safe place to feel and to release their emotions, and they're connecting the mind to the body, so that while the body might be soaking up stress and tension, instead you give it an opportunity to release that. So how to refer? Really, you can refer anyone to yoga, whether they want to prevent or they want to work with an issue they have. They just obviously don't want to be in acute pain from an acute injury. If they're relatively healthy, I recommend, please tell them to go to a beginner class. When it doesn't work is when someone has an injury, or maybe they haven't been active, and then they come into a big group class that's moving fast, and they might get injured, or they might just feel embarrassed, and then they walk away and say, yoga didn't work for me, I'll never do that again. But if you have them come to a beginner basic class, or if they have an injury, they can also schedule a private class. Most yoga teachers will do private classes for 2 or 3 or more people, so they can divide up the cost, and that really helps them get personalized attention and know how to modify. Please have them tell their teacher, especially if they're going to a public class, that they're new and what their injury is, so that the teacher can look out for them and give them modifications. And I also would just request that you have them wait to buy a yoga mat. The studios have yoga mats they can use, and that way they can not waste their money and buy the wrong thing. They can buy the mat according to the style they want to practice. And then finally, I just wanted to help overcome some common objections. I'm sure you've heard these before or even thought them yourself. I certainly have. People say I'm not flexible enough to do yoga. I can't even touch my toes. And so it's just to let them know they don't have to be flexible to do yoga. The benefits are in the process, not achieving the pose, and of course they can always bend their knees. I can't do yoga because of my religious beliefs. I hear this in Bend a lot. Yoga is not a religion. You don't have to believe anything for it to work. And it's, it connects you to what's most important to you. That's the spiritual effect people talk about. Yoga is not just for women. Men of all ages do yoga. I mentioned a couple, Woody Harrelson and Shaquille O'Neal. I tried yoga once, but I didn't like it. I like to use the analogy. It's like saying I tried going to a restaurant once and I didn't like it, so I'll never eat out again. That is how varied yoga is. I would love to have you come to my studio, Namaspa. There are a lot of great studios. But the number one thing to know is to refer yoga best. You really want to do it yourself. So I hope to see you guys in the studio. Thank you.